Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Masai Mara. It's 2:15 in the morning, and you can see all those eyes in the background. Those are hyena. They've just come onto the scene. You can see wildebeest crossing the road in the foreground, and then this poor young wildebeest is obviously injured or sick. We've been here for about 10 minutes. We were about to leave, and we thought, well, wouldn't it be interesting to see what predators came along to finish off this young wildebeest? This could be something that turns into a fairly tricky sighting to spectate in, but what I can assure you is that the sooner these hyena arrive, the sooner they will put this young wildebeest out of its misery, and it is just a matter of time. Good evening again. My name is Scott. I'm teamed up with Manu on camera. We've been out since midnight. We jumped into the vehicle to relieve Taylor, who was out before us, and we've basically got a plan to try and have 24-hour surveillance coming to you live from the Mara as and when action prevails. Now, we're using an infrared camera, so we are shining no artificial lights. We are sitting in the pitch darkness. Like I said, it's 2:15 in the morning. It's been a cloudy and rainy evening, but thankfully for the last 45 minutes or so, it has cleared up and allowed us to open up the flaps and start looking for action. And as you can see, these hyena are approaching now. It is just a matter of time before they take hold of this young wildebeest. Like I said, I'm not sure what could be wrong with it. It could be ill. It could have broken its leg. It's very, very slippery on these roads. And in the chaos of the stampeding herds, and they do stampede a lot at night, there's certainly a lot more frenzy at night amongst the herds. You can even hear them all chatting now. Now, we can see the eyes of 3 hyena. There are definitely more. I counted at least about 6 or 7. And as you can see, they're cautiously approaching. I'm almost certain they've seen this young wildebeest stationary in the road, and they're going to know that there's an easy meal up ahead. But they don't know what other predators may be lurking. They will be cautious of lion. Shame. This wildebeest does not have too much longer to go. Now, I've heard a lot of you are rooting for this wildebeest. Like I said, I don't think there's a doctor that's going to come to this wildebeest's rescue. So if these predators were not to converge on it, it would just be lying in this road, suffering, lonely, and afraid. So I think the sooner this happens, the better. And here they come. Just get ready to turn on the light, Manu, for these stampeding wildebeest. Just turn on the center light just dimly. Now, there are wildebeest stampeding around us, so we need to just turn the lights on our car to indicate that we are here so that the wildebeest don't come crashing into us. Don't worry about that, Manu. I'll shine another light if they come again. Sorry. So I'm just shining a spotlight onto the roof of the vehicle just to make sure that the stampeding herds don't come into us. Hi, Heather, you'd like to know the size difference between this young wildebeest and the hyena, and they are fairly similar size. They definitely know that there's an easy meal here, and these hyena are about to cash in. Fascinating how they are quite nervous of it, but they are going to overcome these nerves shortly. And I fear that they may start feeding on it from the rear before they actually kill it. So that is something to brace yourselves for, because that is in all likelihood what is going to happen. We saw the same thing happening last night. We stumbled across a young zebra that had gone to the hyena. They're coming in. Zoom out a bit. And they started feeding on this poor zebra without even killing it. Thankfully, a young male lion came in onto the scene to finish it off. Isn't this fascinating? Oh. can see how they almost don't know what to do. They're so used to prey fleeing or putting up a fight. They're almost confused by its lack of resistance. And that is why they are going about this so slowly. They almost need it to struggle a little bit, and that will cause them to engage into killing mode or feeding mode. Well, you saw it struggle a little bit there. The more it struggles, the more they will realize that they need to do their business. But for now, this is just the most remarkable thing to be witnessing and sharing with you guys live. I cannot believe that we are seeing this. I also cannot believe that there are not more hyena coming into the fray. Now, as soon as this wildebeest lets out a bleat, that will also trigger all the hyenas. So as soon as it lets out one of its distress calls, the other hyena are going to come charging in, and I feel that it's not going to take long for it to start letting off its distress call. Now, interestingly, I can see 5 hyena off to our left. They seem to be following a herd, but I'm sure they're going to turn around and come and join. There we go. That little noise you've just heard now is going to bring all the other hyena in. Although they didn't hear it. There's so much other ambient noise. I'm keeping an eye on the other hyena with the thermal imaging camera. It's just on the door of my vehicle. One of the closer hyenas has turned and is coming to investigate, so there will be 3 on the scene shortly. And you may find they actually will be a little bit sneaky and almost selfish, and that they will not call in the other hyena. I've seen that happen in the past. Although the very opposite could also happen. They could let off a few whooping cackles to call in the rest. Let's see what happens. This is very interesting. It looks like the hyena might actually be going for a chokehold, which is completely against what I expected. Because, no, I don't think it's doing that. I think it doesn't know what it's doing itself. It seems to be chewing on something, though. I hope it hasn't chewed off the ear of the wildebeest. It is possible that something like that may have happened. They'll start with the easiest parts. The third hyena is coming in on now, and goodbye to you guys who are leaving us. I understand that this is not for everyone, and we will see you on another safari. For those of you who are staying, good to have you still with me, because this would not be enjoyable to experience alone, just with Manu. This is a fascinating scene that we are getting to witness. As hard as it may seem, like I said, this wildebeest clearly is not in a good state, and let's just hope these hyena do a good job at putting it out of its misery as soon as it possibly can. Now, that was clearly a louder bellow from this poor wildebeest, and it may attract other predators, so we need to be ready for other animals like lions to come barreling in. Who knows, maybe a serval. Last night Taylor had a serval come in and chase hyena off a kill that they had made. So we certainly are getting to bear witness to some fascinating things out here. Now, the hyena's jaws are so powerful that they'll literally tear chunks of this animal's flesh off as if it's watermelon or a soft fruit. It's hard to believe how powerful their jaws are, and we are about to bear witness to exactly what hyena can do. you'd like to know how long I think it's going to take the hyenas to kill this poor young wildebeest, then I don't have a clue. I mean, I would have predicted them to come in with a lot more tenaciousness. They're not hugely full-bellied, so I don't know what's taking these hyenas so long. Usually when they come in on a carcass, they feed like absolute gluttons, and I'm sure once they get the taste of blood on their lips, they are going to start doing that. But for now, it's a surprisingly slow process that we are witnessing. What is taking these hyenas so long? I cannot believe this is happening so slowly. Sadly, it looks like they're already managing to feed on a little bit of it between its shoulder blades. Diane, you would like to know if this wildebeest will possibly die of shock before the hyena. Oh no. Before the hyena actually kill it, and no, I sadly don't think that is the case. No, just like we have favorite parts of any meal, or a roast chicken perhaps, predators also have their favorite parts of, and easiest parts to eat of their prey. And of course, it would be best if they were to feed on those parts once they'd already killed the animal, but in this case, that may not actually happen. The ears and the eyes are two of those body parts, sadly. Okay, there's three more hyena, I think, coming back onto the scene slowly. They're probably still about 100 meters away. And I have just picked them up in the thermal. I think I'm going to move us actually, let's just stay where we are now. You see the hyenas are lifting their heads up because they can hear the other hyena rustling through the grass as they approach. And I think as soon as is that one hyena just lying in the grass there? No, sorry, to the right. Over there, yeah. I mean, how are they not all getting involved? This is the most un-hyena-like behavior I would have ever imagined to see. I mean, and I'm sure all of you agree, especially those of you who have spent time with us on safari. I mean, when hyenas come across a kill, even when they're full-bellied, I mean, it's a feeding frenzy. Yet, I think the fact that this animal's still alive is perhaps causing them to act a little bit differently. I mean, that's the only kind of plausible thing that I can think of. The fact that they haven't even started eating it alive, really, that in itself is a miracle. And it is important to remember that hyenas are not only scavengers, they can hunt and kill for themselves, yet this just doesn't make sense. Karen, you've just said that this is like a wild dog kill, but in slow motion, super slow motion. I agree. I'm fairly convinced that this is going to have to change at some point, though. I mean, no. I thought they were all leaving it. Well, some hyena, believe it or not, are moving off. Others are heading back now, but I mean, you saw the one that just disappeared out of your frame. I can see two leaving, and no, I mean, these hyenas certainly don't look full-bellied. I've seen hyena that look like they've had their stomachs inflated with gas. They look like giant beach balls that have been stuck in their stomach, so there is certainly no reason why these hyena are not feeding more ferociously. Diane, you say that possibly it's the fact that these hyenas are not the dominant individuals and therefore not used to eating first. You know, most clans will often split up and do their own thing, so they'll always have opportunities where they will be the first on a kill. They're not always in a group together, so I don't think that could be the reason. But please keep sending through your thoughts as to what you think is going through these hyenas' heads, because I mean, I literally am astounded by what is happening here. Cheryl, you say that maybe there's lions coming that we can't hear yet. If that was the case, they'd be eating as fast as they possibly can, because they would know that the lions were about to steal it. So if anything, that would speed up the process. I mean, the longer they wait, the more chance they have of it being stolen. Oof, that didn't sound good. I can hear them crunching through some part of its body. I think they've started feeding on its spine, which is bizarre. Oof. Vicky, no, these hyena are certainly not too young to know what to do. Again, the only thing that I could think that is causing this behavior is the fact that they've stumbled across this animal while it's alive and it's just put up absolutely no resistance to them. And it's the same theory as, you know, the fact that you shouldn't run away from a lion, because as soon as you start running, it feels like it should start chasing you. So if you stand your ground, you override them. And if we could teach an impala to do the same thing and just stand and stare at a lion, the lion would probably jam on brakes at the last second and think, oh, why aren't you running? Because that is what they are used to. Well, at least the hyenas seem to be getting a little bit more interested in eating now. Or not, I don't know. They're coming back and, you know, back, lots of toing and froing from the carcass. There's one about 50 meters away, just minding its own business, walking around. You see, that hyena that you've just looked at now is listening to lions. So those hyena definitely did stop to listen to lions roaring off in the distance. They didn't sound very close. This is a new hyena, I think, that's just come onto the scene. Regina, you suggesting that we should share this footage with hyena researchers and see what they have to say, and I think, yes, that's definitely a great idea. Okay, well, that's good, because now the more they start bickering with one another, the more of a feeding frenzy will be induced, and the sooner this wildebeest will be finished off, which I think is a long time overdue now. I am going to move us a little bit closer so we can see what's going on. We'll cancel that. We will stay put then. It's incredible how predators will be so cautious around a kill like that, and of course I had no idea that they were going to bombshell like that, otherwise I wouldn't have started the vehicle. But it is a risky area for them. Long grass all around. They've just heard lions roaring, even though it's not close. It's probably got lions at the top of their mind. And I'm told a lot of you are in agreement with me and my theory regarding the fact that this young wildebeest has not put up a fight, hence causing these hyena to kind of delay what should ordinarily be a swift and fairly ferocious process. Okay, now that's exactly what we want to hear, that these hyenas are starting to fight over the kill with one another, and the sooner they do that, the better. Incredible audio from them now as they're starting to cackle and whoop with one another. It's bringing back the other hyena. So the other hyena are coming back in onto the scene now. You can just see their shadows and their eyes slinking in. You can hear zebra alarm calling off in the distance. Well, you'd like to know how hyenas make kills in comparison to this kind of bizarre event that we are witnessing. And they usually run their prey down to the ground and almost bowl them over. And then they can disembowel them. They usually don't suffocate them. They usually just start feeding on them alive. It's almost unheard of for hyena to suffocate their prey. So they use their stamina to run in and amongst the herds or run after prey until they simply tire and sometimes collapse. I've actually never bared witness to hyenas hunting. I've only heard many a tale of how they go about it. But I'm sure in the coming weeks we will probably be able to share a hyena hunt with you. I'll be surprised if we don't capture one during these migratory months when there is simply just so much on offer for the predators. Okay, I'm just going to creep forward a little bit and see if this wildebeest is in fact dead. And once we know that, then we'll decide what to do next. Yes, Julie, I couldn't agree more with you that their glowing eyes and their shadows slinking through this long grass is certainly quite spooky. Okay, well, they've definitely managed to start feeding on it. We can see that. It looks like they're feeding on its intestines. So they've started with the soft stomach parts. It's usually the easiest part to open up a carcass. I haven't really got us into the best spot here. Let's creep forward a little bit more. Now, even though we can still see the shine from this wildebeest's eye, it doesn't necessarily mean it's still alive. They don't close their eyes when they die. And let's hope that is the case. I certainly can't see any movement from it. Can't see any sign of it breathing, so hopefully it is the end of the road for it. I'm still astounded. I mean, there was at least 7 or 8 hyena here earlier. Now there's only 3 around the carcass and one more that's lurking about 100 meters further down the road. The others are coming back to the carcass now, Manu. Brandon, welcome on board. I've heard you are not sure what happened to this wildebeest, and interestingly enough, we just came across it lying in the road. Earlier on, there were hundreds of wildebeest marching from right to left across this road that we parked on, and the wildebeest was just lying there, sitting there, and we had only been here for 10 minutes. When I said to Mono it would be interesting to stay here and wait for some hyena to arrive, and literally 30 seconds later they came strolling down the road, so we got incredibly lucky, because to invest a whole night sitting here would have been an interesting decision to have to make. Well, thankfully, I think that wildebeest is now dead. So it has died. I'm not sure how it would have died, whether it would have bled out. That possibly is the reality of how it died, or they may have broken its spine by biting through its neck. They were chewing on its neck. So at least it is out of its misery now. Kerry, you'd like to know if I think there's a den nearby and that's why they're acting nervously. I don't think that's the reason. In all likelihood, these hyena have travelled a long distance from their den already this evening. They would have been on the move from probably just before sunset. So, and it's, what's the time now? I mean, they came up across it at 2:15. It's now 2:40, so we've been here for about half an hour. And I'm just scanning around permanently with this little with the thermal imaging camera, and the reason being is that, especially with audio like that, other predators could hear it and come to investigate. So I'm just making sure we don't have any random bogeys coming in, so we can warn Manu. He's on camera. Well, what a fascinating sighting. I'm so happy that you guys got to share in on this live safari action from the middle of the night in the Masai Mara. And again, I just can't say how lucky we are to be out here exploring, because every single day we are uncovering new and interesting behavior on some very iconic species of Africa, where you'd think we would know a lot more and we'd have a lot more answers about their behavior. But these late night safaris with this incredible infrared camera that we're using, as well as the thermal imaging cameras, are providing us with some incredible action. Oh, here comes another hyena. You can see from the way it runs that it's a hyena. If it was a lion, its head wouldn't be bopping up and down like that. And Manu's in the zone, picking up on all the action. So when the other hyena hear it's approaching, they stop, and then when it hears everything else stop, it also stops to investigate. So just easing into what could be a dangerous situation. It's in all likelihood part of this clan. Their senses are so good, it'll be picking up smells of its cousins and clan members long before it gets here, but it will just not know if there's any lion lurking in and amongst them. And Remy, you'd like to know if hyena would feed aggressively even if they're not very hungry. And I think the general rule to any of the predators would be no. Once they're full-bellied, they're going to be less inclined to fight over food. And I guess that could be related to us as humans. If you put 10 starving people in a room with a piece of bread, you'd expect a very different outcome.
if everyone had just been to a sushi buffet. So I think the same is applicable with hyenas as well as lions and cheetah, who form coalitions. Ooh, what's this? Now also a hyena, judging by the way its head's bobbing from side to side. As it's just walking, it's not running like the other one was coming in. They've got an interesting gait when they walk, and that kind of swings their head from side to side. Hello, Kim. You are wondering how many pounds of pressure, and I think it's measured per square inch, a hyena has in its bites. And I can't think of it off the top of my head. Even the crocodile, the Nile crocodile, which is said to be the strongest, but then again there's debates between the Nile and the salt crocodile, I think was either 5,000 pounds or 7,000 pounds, I think, per square inch. And I'm guessing a hyena would probably be somewhere around 3,000 possibly, but it is just a complete flyer. Oof, I'm way off. I must be using a different measuring system. Hyenas are 1,000. So Jerry's just had a quick look for me. Thank you, Jerry. And 1,000 pounds per square inch. Now that's making me think the crocodile's only 3,000. Clearly, those numbers have got jumbled up in my little brain, so apologies for that. But they certainly do have some of the most powerful jaws in the African wilderness. And for good reason. They can crunch through the bones and the other parts of the carcass that the other predators cannot. So what are these two hyena going to do? Just going to say hello to this other one. Some very submissive behavior from the individual that's just arrived, holding its head low, putting its bottom down on the ground. I think the others are dragging the carcass away. Julie, you'd like to know which is more aggressive, male or female hyena? And interestingly, it's the females. They are the most dominant out of all of the hyena within a clan. So every female ranks higher than the highest ranking male. The males are physically smaller than the females. And that is quite a rare scenario in the animal kingdom, for the females to have all those attributes that usually the men do. The tricky thing is they're very difficult to sex. They've both got very similar looking sexual appendages, and that makes it very tricky to know which is a male or a female, or what could be a young female that isn't fully grown could look like a male that is fully grown, if that makes any sense. So it's an animal that I've certainly battled to gain a lot of insight into for that simple reason, the difficulty in distinguishing between male and female. What's in the road coming towards us? It could just be another hyena, but let's just double check it's not something else that's interesting. Or is it something that's walking away? Oh, sorry, it's just another hyena walking off. Thanks, Manu. Okay, everyone, well, I think things have kind of calmed down here, and we can't really see what they're up to. So I would like to say a very big thank you for jumping on safari with myself and Manu in the Masai Mara in Kenya. We're all so lucky to be out here, and it would be awfully saddening if it was just myself and Manu. So thank you very much. Thank you for sending through your questions, and Manu and I are going to head off in search of any other action. Be sure to keep tuned in to any updates, because who knows what may happen before dawn breaks and we start our sunrise safari. Once again, well done to Jerry in the final control. Goodbye.